Hello, and thanks for taking a peek at my video. Today we're going to be displaying a study of a Charles Warren Eaton painting. This is an interesting painting by Eaton that I had never seen before. Charles Warren Eaton is known to be one of America's foremost tonalist painters. He created what are known to be intensely serene landscapes said to evoke calm and spiritual beauty. One that is somewhat reminiscent of universal experiences like waking up and viewing the outdoors just around dawn, or perhaps maybe dining outside at dusk with loved ones. Those universal experiences that we all have and look fondly upon. The process that I follow here is one that's going to involve the use of a very limited palette. For the most part, this painting will be created almost exclusively from pigments such as yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and just a little bit of sap green, and white and black. White will almost always be tinted here to reflect snow that's been on the ground for a while and reflecting the light from the sky. And black simply to create grays to help push some of the background colors off into the distance. Eaton's paintings have been said to have an amazing ability to transport us to a different place in time. His art achieves the universal truth for which he so ardently strived. So Eaton was somebody that really was fond of George Inness. And George Inness, who we've covered before and will continue to cover because he's one of my favorite painters, was known to be the father of American landscape painting. And both Eaton and Inness, among others, were part of the tonalism school. And both shared a lot of characteristics in common, one of which was the spiritual connection to celebrating the natural landscape. They actually both spoke of the experience of honoring nature as a way of transcending the human experience. So, and these are qualities that I appreciate because I often kind of share in that feeling, and really appreciate the fact that they're so deeply connected to the work of creating this art by hand. Now, just a little bit about the mechanics of this painting. So I am painting on stretched canvas that is 11 by 14, a relatively inexpensive canvas that I purchased at an art supply store. And I am, at this point, just about finished with blocking in all the major shapes within the painting. I obviously did that with a yellow ochre wash, and added a little tints of burnt sienna. And I forgot to mention in my earlier reference to the palette, there's also a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow, which I'll use to accentuate the yellow qualities of the sky, which is actually what drew me to this painting. I thought it was very unusual. I hadn't seen amongst all of the paintings that I had viewed of Eaton's, I hadn't seen a painting with this quality and this kind of tonal quality and color range. So it jumped out at me, and I had spent a fair amount of time reviewing images of his work online, both on Facebook and some of the tonalist groups that I'm a part of, and then also just doing Google searches. And more recently, I had purchased a really good book called Charles Warren Eaton, An American Tonalist Rediscovered. I think I got it on Amazon for about $25. And it was well used, but in good condition, and really good color quality in the images, the copies of the color plates that they have that include most of his work. And I did not see this. I actually saw this original painting online after doing a quick Google search, and it was for sale in some gallery somewhere. I guess some art collectors had it, and I figured I would give it a shot. I would use it as an opportunity to paint something that's quite different than what I normally would paint, and then also continue my study of the greats, like Charles Warren Eaton. So just working my way through like I normally would. It's almost like a weaving process, going from the foreground to the middle ground to the background, and just making slight adjustments. This is a smaller painting, so for the most part I'm using brushes that are in the range of a 5 or 6. Occasionally I'll bring out a liner brush, especially at the very end when I try to get some of the final highlights, and just work my way through and resist the urge to put in a lot of detail. I will start early in the process trying to build up the textures, particularly on the trees in the foreground and the middle ground, where you can see evidence of the layering effect that you might get with the bark. And then also in the water too, just trying to adjust the reflections that are on the surface of the water. So it probably is evident by now, but I have sped up the video. I'm gonna try and start producing multiple tracks of the same video, ones that are sped up like this, and then also additional copies that are at regular speed. And I'll post those to my membership page for people who are interested in maybe taking a little bit of a deeper dive into my process and learning more with me. This is also, I think, my 5th or 6th painting in this Study of the Great series that I've embarked upon. It's my plan and my intention is for this to be a longer term series. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and it also creates a nice journal for myself when I post these videos and recap on the voiceover. Thinking about how this painting came out, I'm pretty happy with it. Every time I look at it, there's little things that I feel like I want to correct, but I try my best not to let the perfectionist, the inner perfectionist in me get in the way of making quick progress with my learning. For instance, I was a little reckless with the process of shaping some of the trees and some of the tree branches. I could have done a better job there. I rushed, and I ended up picking up the probably tools that were less than optimal for what it was I was trying to do. And but that said, I'm pretty happy with how this painting comes out. And you'll see in a little bit, actually right there it is, I started picking up a liner brush, and that helped me make some better marks that were more indicative of those trees off in the distance jutting out over the tree line. And this video I think is going to be in total at this speed about 11 minutes long, and we're not too far from the end, so you're getting a good indication of how the painting is going to shape up. From here, I just refine some of those marks, refine some of the overarching patterns like the footprints in the snow there, or the hoof prints, and enhance some of the clouds and some of the marks on the trees. Some really nice orange and greens within that tree bark that I'm trying to replicate. Eaton, really, in his original work, I feel like, made some bold choices here, even though it's almost a monochromatic type painting. So I will be, just for those that are tracking this sort of thing, I'm going to try and go live from here on out every Sunday at 3 o'clock. And I'll post some scheduled times, kind of announcing this. But I have some larger original paintings that I've started to work on, and just want to give folks that are interested in learning or following my progress the opportunity to view me working live. So again, it'll be 3 o'clock on Sundays. And just working in some of the final highlights here. Throughout the painting, working in some of the sky holes, creating more of a natural, dramatic, rough edge to that skyline in the background, scraping and scuffing, trying to create better indications of some of the tall grasses that are peeking up through the snow, and some of the highlights in the water, and also some of the highlights within the snow. Some of the snow remaining is still white or contrasts nicely against the darker background there. So thanks for watching. Here's the final painting is almost queued up here as we come up on the 11-minute time frame. Going through with that liner brush and just refining some of the darker marks at this point, and putting in some of the final highlights, creating some better form within the piles of snow that are reflecting some of the brighter lights. And we'll wrap up soon. I do appreciate you watching. If you find this interesting or helpful, please give me a like, a subscribe. Thanks again.